Okay, are you ready for episode 3? S is for self-talk. As a reminder, we're doing a loose reference to the book, Get Off Your Assets. The link will be below. I'm taking each letter of the word assets, and we're going to talk about a descriptor or something that may be holding you back to the momentum you need to move forward. Let's ask this question. How often do you look into the mirror and think, I'm just not enough, or I'll never be as good as she is, or as great as he is, or as skinny, or as tall, or as fat, whatever it is? I have to share, it's time to change that. Your self-talk, well, it's everything. And we need to get it working for you and not against you. Because here's the truth. The way you speak to yourself really does shape your world more than anything else. And those words that you're saying to yourself, I know, probably something right now in your mind, whether an opinion or a thought, or you're on to next week. The thoughts you're thinking right now, whether you're aware of them or not, they're really the foundation of your reality. So let's make sure those words are lifting you up. Negative self-talk, well, it's kind of sneaky. It happens in our heads, and it often happens without us even realizing it. But truly, those thoughts are shaping everything around you and how you show up in the world. It's that little voice, not just on your shoulder, but in your soul saying, you're not good enough, you're too old, you're never gonna make it. It's the whispers of doubt when you step up to a new challenge or you put yourself out there. Believe me, putting myself out there right now, even on YouTube, is tough because you wonder, what are people thinking? They're judging, they're not judging. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're following your heart. And here's the thing, we can change all of that. So let's change it. Let's start using words that lift us up and not tear us down. Today on this episode, we're going to talk about the power of self-talk and really why it matters and how to take control of the conversation in your head. I know firsthand how much power your mind has over your reality. I spent way too many years in my own head, doubting myself and really questioning whether or not the purpose I was on or the path I was on was right, especially in my early years, in my 20s, when I would go to auditions or I'd go to interviews and literally, I'm not kidding. This is a true story. I remember when I was living in California, in 1 week, I went on probably 6 or 7 auditions. And the feedback was, you're too old, you're too young, you're too fat, you're too thin. How could I be all those things in a 5-day period? Here's what is the reality there. It's perceptions of others. I had no idea what the producer was looking for, and I do know that I was the same person. How others perceive you is their business. How you perceive you can be your business, and it can be up to you as long as you're not feeding yourself negative thoughts. And before I realized it, my thoughts were creating my world, and I had to take a quick commercial break and say, whoa, what is true? What's my reality? And not get caught up in what other people thought of me. You know, once I understood how my self-talk was holding me back, I knew that I had to, or I wanted to take control of it. And I know you can too. So today, we're going to talk about how to change your narrative. Big fancy word. So what does that mean? How to make your thoughts work for you instead of against you. And how to start using self-talk to empower yourself. I mean, wouldn't that be fantastic? So let's dive right into how to start being your own cheerleader, not your worst enemy. All right, confession time. I often have full-on conversations with myself in the mirror, even audibly talking out loud. My family cracks up about this. And I did realize for a moment that I was mostly complaining about how my jeans didn't fit right or how I couldn't remember my phone number half the time. Let's just say I wasn't always my own cheerleader. And when I realized that, I was upset with myself, but I was also sad. I thought, why would I do this? And when I would think, oh, why am I terrible at this? I can't believe I did that. Or worst of all, you're so stupid. Those little utterances count and matter. Don't ever tell yourself that you're not good enough or you're stupid or you were too bad at something. It's that constant nagging chatter that kept me from moving forward, and I don't want you to have that same situation. So once I realized how damaging those little thoughts were, because really I was doing it subconsciously and I didn't realize, I knew I had to switch gears. I really started paying attention to what I was saying to myself, how I was talking to myself, and really that's when things started to shift. So if you're sitting there right now looking at me thinking, holy smokes, I do that too, Don't worry, I've been there and we're going to fix it together. Because once you start feeding your mind with positive affirmations and empowering words, whew, the sky's the limit. Your potential is endless when you speak life into your dreams and speak life into yourself. You were fearfully and wonderfully made. You have a purpose. So let's take that first step together. By the end of this episode, you're going to know exactly how to be your own biggest fan. No more negativity allowed, all right? Deal? So we're going to kick things off by talking about the science behind self-talk. Why is it such a big deal? Here's the deal. Not to get super geeky, but I geek out on these things. Your brain is wired, it is truly wired to believe whatever you tell it, whether it's positive or negative. And that's pretty powerful. I mean, think about it. It's better than Google. You would never go to Google or Bing or whatever search engine you use and put in what you don't want to know, right? You put in the things that you do want to know for a positive outcome. Your brain doesn't question the things that you say to yourself, which means you tell yourself I'm not good enough, your brain starts to look for evidence to back that up. We get it when we go to the computer. We just don't always pay attention to how powerful that is with our brain. Here's how it works. Your subconscious mind is always listening. You think your phone is always listening? Let me tell you, your subconscious mind is always listening. It takes everything you say and believe it to be true, even if it's a total lie. This is why negative self-talk is so incredibly dangerous. It literally rewires the way you view the world. When you constantly tell yourself you're not capable, you're not good enough, you're teaching your mind that you're not capable, that you're not good enough. Is that what you want to do? That's a story you keep telling yourself, and your brain will follow your script every single time. Scary, right? But you want the good news? You can rewire your brain by simply changing the narrative. When you replace the negative thoughts with the positive affirmation, your brain starts to look for evidence of your success, evidence of your strength, and evidence of your great capabilities. You see, it's all about creating a new habit of thought. And just like any other habit, it takes time and it takes practice, but man, it's worth it. I mean, let's go back to even something in nature. If you plant a bulb in October, you're not going to see blooms in November or December, probably not even in January. It takes time to percolate and work underneath the surface and build the foundation that come February, that daffodil is standing tall. It is shining gorgeous yellow blooms all over a wintry landscape. It's worth it, right? The same with habits. It may take a minute to percolate, but boy, it is showy and beautiful once it gets established. So now that we understand the science behind self-talk, let's dive into the how-to. How do we actually make our self-talk work for us instead of against us? I have a few powerful tools to share that you can start using today. Step 1, recognize those negative patterns first. First things first, you got to recognize those negative self-patterns. And sometimes, I know I was guilty of this, I wasn't even aware of how the things I was telling myself were playing out. It's those quiet whispers like, I'm not good enough, I'm too old, I'll never get that promotion. They pop up throughout the day. And if you become blind to them, if you don't catch them, if they become so ingrained, they will shape your reality. So really start listening to your thoughts, listening to the words coming out of your mouth. Pay attention, if you will, to the things you say to yourself. It could be as simple as, I can't do this, or I'm not smart enough, and then saying, whoa, acknowledge that. Once you recognize it's a negative thought, you're in a position to place it with something better. All right, step 2, we're going to replace those negative thoughts with positive affirmations. So once you've recognized that a negative thought has seeped its way in, it's like a joy robber on your life, you need to replace it quickly with a positive affirmation. Now, I know this might sound a little bit cheesy, but trust me, it really works because affirmations are a powerful tool to help reprogram your mind. Now, here's the trick. Every single time you catch yourself thinking something negative, I want you to replace it with a positive statement. And you know what? You may not even believe it at first, that positive statement. But remember how your brain works. You're rewiring it. And when you say it, you're training your brain to look for that positive statement. So here's how it goes. Instead of, I'll never be successful, I want you to say, I'm capable of achieving my goals. Instead of, I am way too old to start this, say, it's never too late for me to create the life I want. These affirmations don't have to be long. They don't have to be complicated. You don't have to share them with others. You don't even have to say them out loud, but you need to say them. And keep it simple and to the point. This doesn't have to be too wordy. This is between you and your brain. The key here, well, that's consistency. Just like when you plant those bulbs in the ground, they consistently have to stay in that environment until it's time for them to pop up. Over time, your brain will start believing these new thoughts and you're going to feel more confident. That's what we want, right? You're going to feel more capable and more positive. Okay, we've got step 1 and step 2 down. I know it's not going to be easy, but step 3 may help that habit, and it's creating a morning affirmation routine. Now, I don't know about you, but I love to start my day with coffee. In fact, I oftentimes get up a little bit early so I can have a cup of coffee by myself. I know, I like everybody in my household, but sometimes I need some me time. I like to sit down and have a little quiet time, do a little journaling, but it's also an opportunity for me to set out my day and set the plan for my day and implement positive self-talk. And I do that by creating a morning affirmation routine. However you like to do it, or maybe you want to do it during your makeup routine or getting ready, I want you to start your day by looking yourself right in the mirror and saying your affirmations out loud. Now, you can write these down, you can read them to yourself, you can repeat them in the morning while you're getting ready. In fact, here's a quick trick. When I first started doing this, first of all, I felt super awkward, but then I thought, oh, I'm not going to get it right. Am I saying it right? Am I remembering everything? Back to my negativity. So I would put sticky notes on my mirror and I would put them at eye level and I would read them to myself and I'd look at myself and I'd read and I'd look at myself and read. And then sometimes I would even write on my mirror with a dry erase marker. Don't worry, it comes off, but to be able to scribble in your own hand and write it, or have something, a theme, a mantra that you want to create for that whole week, it's awesome and it's right there. You can't miss it when it's right in front of your face. So you can also say them during your commute or while you're making your coffee. You choose how you want to do it, but just commit to doing it and doing it for you. Number 4, it's time to challenge your negative thoughts. Sometimes you need to just challenge those negative thoughts head on. When that little voice in your head says you're not good enough, I want you to ask yourself, is that really true? What evidence do you have to support that? Again, may sound silly, but when you challenge yourself, you're automatically making your brain stop and rewire. Like, whoa, wait a second. And I think more often than not, you're going to find that your negative thoughts don't have any solid ground to stand on. When you question your negative thoughts, you give yourself the power to dismiss them and replace them with something more empowering. Now, are you kind of getting the theme here? This is in your control and you have the power to do it, which I think is exciting because now you know you can do it. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds great, but how do I make it stick? Well, the answer comes again, consistency. You cannot just say an affirmation one time and expect it to last for the rest of the week or month or year. It's not going to be said once and change everything overnight. This is all about making it a regular practice. So regular that those little negative thoughts, they're barely even around, if never around anymore. As a regular practice, I want this to be something you do every single day, multiple times a day, until it becomes second nature. I mean, have you ever noticed, if you've got negative thoughts coming up, they come again and again and again, and they become a habit. We're changing that, and we want those positive things to come again and again and again. Sometimes I even switch my watch from my left hand to my right hand so that every time I check the time, I can remind myself to say an affirmation. Whatever you need to do for you, this is about your success. Rewiring your brain doesn't even have to happen in a week or a month. It takes time. So the key is consistency. and being patient with yourself, being kind and having a little bit of grace. It'll have a few bumps in the roads, but I have to say, when you start practicing positive self-talk, you're going to notice the shifts. They'll be small at first. It takes a little while for your mind to fully embrace these new patterns, but once they do, you're going to question any negative thought that comes up. You're going to get excited and you're going to feel powerful. So my advice, be consistent, be patient, and practice grace. Trust this process. Just keep showing up for you. And here's the bonus. As you start to change your self-talk, celebrate the wins. I'm all for celebrating. I love a good celebration. Why not celebrate you? Every time you catch yourself with a negative thought and replace it with something positive, celebrate. That is a victory. We're going to celebrate the small victories, the large victories. We're going to celebrate the in-betweens because it's progress. And every time you make progress, no matter how small, acknowledge it. This helps reinforce that new habit and keeps you motivated. Okay, quick recap. Because you're about to start transforming your mindset. Here's what you need to do to start changing your self-talk for good. Recognize the negative patterns. Start paying attention to the things you say to yourself throughout the day. Replace negative thoughts with positive affirmations. Make it a habit to replace negativity with empowering statements. Create a morning affirmation routine. Start your day by looking at yourself in the mirror and saying positive affirmations out loud. I know, a little geeky, but go ahead and do it. And then challenge your negative thoughts. When that little voice says, you can't do this, I want you to challenge it with evidence of your strengths and your accomplishments. By the way, little commercial break. If you don't know what your strengths and accomplishments are, I can't get that word out, take a look at the book because there's some great exercises to help you figure that out. And be patient and consistent. Rewiring your brain does take time. Keep practicing, keep celebrating your small victories. I know you're going to get there. And you know what? I know you're ready to start rewriting that script in your head. It's time to stop the negativity and start fueling your dreams with positive, empowering words. Trust me, your mind is your most powerful tool. So I want to make sure you're using it to your advantage. Go ahead, drop a comment below. Let me know, what is one affirmation you're going to start telling yourself every single day? Or what one affirmation has worked for you that you would be willing to share with others who are on this journey as well? And remember, don't forget to subscribe. Our next episode is going to be the E in assets, and I can't wait to share it with you.